And we are back with one more episode of
The Horror Guys.
Yay! I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And
we're going to talk about some horror movies.
We are.
We have a roller coaster this week.
We got some really good ones, and we got some real sludge.
Not really good ones. Yeah. What do we have?
Well, we're going to start off after our monthly holiday binge. We have episode 314. We had some holiday movies left over. 315 was our best of 2024, and I already have a little bit of regret with that one. There's one I would have added.
That's this week.
This week had a really good one that I would have added to the best of 2024 had I seen it in time.
Yep, I would have too.
Stay tuned.
We're going to mention that one.
Yeah. Well, anyway, getting back to normal is kind of relative with us, but you get the idea. We got a cool mix of winners and losers for you this week. One big high, one big low, and some decent films in the middle. We're going to start out with Werewolves. I was really looking forward to this. I heard so many people on Facebook saying this. You know, there's a difference if you read the reviews on Facebook versus the reviews on Reddit.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to it, and it's something.
It's something, yeah. Yeah.
We'll also find out it's what's inside. Oh, here's a spoiler. It's an overlooked gem from last year. Mm-hmm. I had never heard of this movie before this past week.
I had not either.
Yeah, it's super. We're going to do an indie release next with the Yorkie Werewolf, which is kind of weird.
So it's a Yorkie, a weird Yorkie.
Weird Yorkie,
Weird Yorkie,
yes,
not really a werewolf, yeah.
And a low-budget comedic creature feature called Invisible Raptor. And then we'll finish up with a vampire movie called Swap.
A sexy vampire movie.
Well, it pretends to be a vampire movie.
It had the sexy stuff in it.
Yeah, it had a lot of sexy stuff in it. It just didn't have a lot of vampires, though.
Not enough.
Oh, well. Let's see where we're getting started at. And, of course, before we get started, got to remind you that we are brought to you by
Us.
HorrorMonthly.com. Monthly magazine of reviews, commentary, synopses, and all kinds of scary stuff. Written by
Us,
yes.
We are our own sponsor.
Issue 40 of Horror Monthly is available now, and that is the one that's got all those holiday movies that we watched last month. I think it's 32, maybe. I think we squeezed an extra one in there.
It was a busy month of
It
Christmas.
was a really busy
Christmas
month.
and New Year movies. Yeah.
Maybe our thickest issue yet. I haven't seen the paperback yet, but it's coming.
It's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, so go over to horrormonthly.com, follow the links to where you can pick it up at paperback or ebook. Yay! All right, is that a full moon outside?
Well, if it is,
we're in big trouble.
We better hide.
What if Werewolves and The Purge combined?
Yeah, 2024's Werewolves, which was directed by Stephen C. Miller, written by Matthew Kennedy, stars Frank Grillo, Katrina Law, Ilfenesh Hadera.
Yeah, and it's an hour and 33 minutes long, and there is a trailer in the show notes. All right, well, this is...
Spoiler-free?
It's a story.
You'd think after a year they'd be more prepared, which is just one of the many points that this movie lacks in logic and doesn't make sense. It is an interesting concept. I was filled with promise and hope at the beginning.
I like the idea of this movie.
Yeah, and it's got some decent action and effects, but just can't think deeply about this one at all. It is so dumb.
It is a fine action movie with lots of good action. It's got a really cool concept, and it is just the dumbest thing we may have seen all year.
Well,
you turn your brain
so far
off
this
for
year,
sure.
Anyway. Yeah.
Well, 1 year ago, and this is key to everything here, 1 year ago, a supermoon event triggered something. Over 1 billion people were transformed into werewolves. Dr. Aranda does a interview on TV, and he says that they're working towards a solution. Everyone just needs to be prepared. But the supermoon returns tonight. Credits roll.
So that it's going to happen again. They know it's going to happen again. They've had a year to plan.
And here's the thing. Supermoons are completely predictable. It's not like they just suddenly looked up and said, oh, there it is.
Yeah, this is a special kind that has started occurring. It's an astronomical event now that they know is coming.
This is not a surprise.
They've had a year to clean up and get ready.
This is not a surprise.
So why is it as big of a problem as it is?
This is not a surprise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we watch as Wesley drags chains, builds a cage, lays out bear traps, electrifies the fence, and otherwise prepares the house for the full moon. He's very prepared to protect his dead brother's family inside. Inside, Lucy and Emma worry. Neighbor Reagan comes inside, and Lucy gives her some emergency supplies. Outside, neighbor Cody shoots his machine gun carelessly. He's a little unhinged. "Hell's coming our way," he shouts.
Yeah, okay.
He's one of these crazy ex-military prepper types.
Mm-hmm.
Emphasis on the crazy part.
Very crazy, yeah.
Wesley has everything prepared, but he can't stay to protect the family because he has to go out and stop trouble. He doesn't want to leave, but Lucy tells him that's what his brother Sean would want. Wesley drives through town, and we see that there's a lot of wackos out there, even before it gets dark. Of course, after a year of werewolfism, there's a whole new religion sparking up, and end-of-the-world types.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Dr. Arenda gives another press conference about what they hope to learn tonight, and we see that Wesley is the lead biologist. He warns, "Please stay out of the moonlight." We then cut to Crazy Cody, who's lost his mind with PTSD. We know he's going to be trouble.
Mm-hmm. We'll see him again.
Inside the lab, Dr. Amy Chen locks up her boyfriend Miles, who turned into a werewolf last time, into a cage, and he's all scarred up from whatever happened last time. Wesley and the other scientists put on airtight suits to examine the volunteers in the cages. They're testing moonscreen, like sunscreen, that they hope will prevent the change. The volunteers are a weird bunch. Some of them kind of just look like really crazy people. Well, the moon doors open and nothing happens.
It works.
It does. Everyone gets to work analyzing the blood samples. Meanwhile, outside, wolves howl. Lucy and Emma sit in the house terrified. At Reagan's house, her own mother turns and kills her.
Now, Lucy and Emma's house and the prepper guy, they've both fortified themselves. Regan and her mother, it's like it's a freaking normal night for them. Their house is not fortified at all. She's making popcorn, and she's about to, sit and watch a movie. It's like, are you clueless that is what's going on? And her mother, apparently, stood next to an open window and got exposed and then changed. And they, what? You knew that this was going to happen. You literally went over and got emergency supplies from somebody who is prepared.
Wouldn't you want to go out and look at the moon? We did a short film a couple years ago, Don't Look at the Moon. Mm-hmm. Didn't quite go like this, but it was something. Yeah, really, though, after your experience with COVID, does this really surprise you, though?
That people would
want to go out and look out the window, or not? You didn't deny that anything's going to happen, or any of that stuff,
or just not be prepared, or just ignore it, or hope it'll go away. Obviously,
I think if you believed it was going to happen, you'd be more prepared than that.
Mm-hmm.
Have the curtains drawn or something.
Yeah.
And that is my key complaint about this whole thing, is everyone saw it happen last year. It's not like COVID or something like that where, people randomly get sick and you can deny it possibly. Oh, it's just the flu. These people turned into werewolves.
1 out of 5 people on Earth turned into a werewolf.
You saw it happen. You know what happened. It happened. Don't deny it.
You can't.
And it's going to happen again tonight. You'd think you'd at least board up your freaking windows.
Far too many people not prepared at all.
Yeah. Anyway, things go badly at the lab, and sooner or later, it's
the moon screen turns out is only temporary.
Yeah. Okay.
Which does help when Frank Grillo's character and a colleague go out. They keep reapplying it.
You can't be out in the moonlight until the plot requires it, and that's when the moon screen works.
Yeah, and there's people that go out that are completely covered. They've covered themselves completely.
Yeah.
As long as your skin, it doesn't take much, I guess. One of the scientists, in fact, with the suits, when the moon roof, his suit rips and his lower back gets exposed to moonlight, and that's enough for him to change.
Yeah, at first we weren't quite sure. With the 8 million people, was it just random?
No, it's
no.
Everybody.
You actually have to be exposed to the moon.
Yeah.
If you're outside, you will turn.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd think they'd just lock it down and make everybody stay inside.
You'd think.
Boy, there's a lot of people outside.
Boy, there's a lot of not prepared people and a lot of,
Oh, there's so much dumb here.
Yeah.
It is a really neat concept with a storyline that makes no sense at all.
And plus, there's a group of, at one point they encounter some gung-ho soldier types that are out just shooting at the werewolves. And these are just people they're going to change back to people in the morning. These aren't monsters or permanently monsters or anything. And people's out hunting them like they're animals.
Yep. But these are just people.
You realize they're people you're shooting at. They're not acting like it right now, but yeah, there were many issues with this.
Well, it seems like a lot of the preparation would be kind of useless if you didn't know who would change into a werewolf. You could wind up locked inside one like Reagan did.
No.
But it's for people outside in the moonlight. At least that's the way it's presented here.
Yeah, or even through a window.
How hard is it to stay inside and cover your windows?
Yeah.
I was thinking of when they explain all this, what kind of work would we have to do to protect the house here? And it would take an hour and a couple of boards. Mm-hmm. Well, when trapped inside, why didn't the final three characters just... At one point, the werewolves are closing in on them.
The werewolves don't attack each other.
They don't.
Yeah,
the werewolves don't attack each other.
There's no sign of them going after each other. So these three people...
And they look at their watch. Sunrise is in 15 minutes.
We've got to hold out for 15 minutes.
There's no humans around. It's just three good guys against a bunch of werewolves. Why didn't they just jump out into the sun in the moonlight and turn?
You're right.
They'd have become werewolves and nobody would have cared.
Yeah. And then everybody would have changed back in the morning.
It's not like there was human hunters out there in their front yard or anything like that. The werewolves would have left them alone.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
No, yeah.
And they were all going to just turn back anyway. It's not like you died at the end of the night.
Right, yeah.
All right, well, they had a year to prepare. A year. Yeah.
Keep playing that, yeah.
Well, who was driving that? Oh, at one point they're driving down the street and Wesley crashed into a bus that was driving crossing the road. Who the heck is... Why, that's one dedicated bus driver. It's the Werewolf Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And he's out driving a bus.
Yeah.
What? Come on. Why do all the light bulbs just randomly explode?
Yeah, power fluctuations.
And whoever designed that Rube Goldberg exploding research lab, well, he needs to be fired, but he's probably already dead. But
yeah, probably.
Yeah, one little thing gets knocked over, and then just the whole lab falls apart. Why are there crashed cars all over the road? Were these people out driving? And if so, there should have been a lot more werewolves than there were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people knew this was coming a year in advance. So many logic questions.
Yeah.
Well, I think the hardest thing to believe about the whole movie is Frank Grillo playing an expert biologist. He does not look like the scientist type.
No, he doesn't, but he's very smart in this.
Now, the werewolves are a mix. Some of them are CGI, while others are rubbery puppets, and some people just in suits. And there's a lot of them, which is pretty cool. And the film does not shy away from showing us the werewolves. The only transformation we get a good look at is toward the end, and it's actually very good. I think most of them, though, are kind of rubbery, costumey looking things.
Mm-hmm.
It is a fun action movie with a very cool concept. I would love to read a book series on this. But absolutely, positively, turn your brain off before starting this one.
Yeah.
Dumb fun.
Dumb fun. That's a good way to put it.
Anything to add?
No, not really.
I kind of covered it all on that one.
Kind of covered it, yeah.
Well, we then move to 2024's It's What's Inside. Written and directed by Greg Jardin, stars Brittany O'Grady, James Morosini, Gavin Leatherwood, and it's an hour and 43 minutes.
This one is amazing.
This is certainly my favorite of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were doing our top 10 of 2024 again, this would have been on the list.
I suspect that come the end of this year, when it's time to pick our favorite movies that we saw during the year, I bet this is going to be on my list.
I really like this one.
Mm-hmm.
So much to think about here.
Yeah.
And it's got a budget to it, but it didn't need any special effects.
But it's got enough to tell the story.
Well, what starts out as a harmless-seeming party game gets wildly out of hand. We went into this one blind, and we were delighted. The script is great, and the actors keep up with it. It's one that we might have to see it. Yeah, and when it was all done, we were both like, we should watch that ending again.
At least the ending, yeah.
Yeah.
But the whole thing would be interesting to see again.
Give us a taste.
Well, Shelby does an influencer post about trying something new. Don't be afraid to spice things up. Boy, do they ever in this movie. They get a chance to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Her boyfriend, Cyrus, watches porn in the next room. She goes in for sex, but that doesn't work out. and they argue about how badly he does or doesn't want sex. This escalates into a full-blown argument, and they are all going over to the wedding tomorrow, and credits roll.
You could see these two are just not going to work out from the first scene.
Well, all the friends make posts about attending Ruben and Sophia's big wedding, and it's all kind of cringy. There's a lot of social media posting going on. This is like a gathering before the wedding. They're getting together for a party, and it's not really a bachelor or bachelorette.
Back when they
party,
all went to
but-
school together, the
Yeah.
the Reuben, the groom, said, "I want you all to get together before my wedding night,
And that's what they're doing.
someday in the future." And
Yeah.
this is that.
We see many of the characters interacting on socials. So Shelby and Cirrus are still arguing about him watching porn even after the long drive.
Let it go.
Yeah. Well, all the friends are very excited, friendly, and enthusiastic, kind of in a superficial way, but we get to know them a little bit. All the friends think that Shelby and Cyrus got married already, but they didn't. Well, they all talk about Forbes, the guy who used to like to play games, and how weird he was, and they haven't seen him in a long time. We get a flashback about fighting, drinking, and getting expelled.
Apparently, he took his sister to the prom, got her drunk, and one of the characters wanted to have sex with her or something.
She was underage
Yeah.
at the time. Yeah.
And it was just a major disaster
Brought her
because she
to
had a
this-
freak out, and he got expelled.
Brought her to this college-age party, and she was a high schooler, underaged, and yeah, there was drama. And well, there's a whole backstory there that they go into. He moved to California, got a job with some big tech company, and it's been 8 years. No one especially wants to see Forbes again, but he was invited to the wedding and to the party. And as Reuben makes his toast, Forbes comes to the door, much to everybody's shock. They used to call him Game Boy, since he was always playing something, always into games. And he says he's been traveling the world and making money all these years. Oh, and he brought a game that his team has been working on for the last 5 years.
Cool.
Well, he opens his suitcase and takes out a machine that's full of switches and plugs and electrodes, has everybody put on an electrode onto their forehead, and we watch all friends have quite a reaction as he turns it on. Everyone goes wild for about 20 seconds and gets upset at what happened. Then he powers it off. And he explains that brains are like hard drives, and this just transfers files. He gave them a little taste, like for 15, 20 seconds, where they were all swapped in different bodies.
Body swapping.
Yeah, their minds go into different bodies. It's a mind transfer device, and it's technically top secret. But he assures them that it's safe and works and everything.
This is not really a game. This is some kind of top secret government thing
that he has
snuck out.
Yeah. Well, the game he wants to play is to randomly swap bodies, and then they're going to try to guess who's who for real, who's in which body. Well, Shelby's kind of uptight and upset about the game, but everybody else wants to try it again for real. And, Cyrus says, "You're always talking about new experiences. This is something we can do together." So they try round one.
Round one, yes.
They all hook up, and they all switch bodies and then disconnect from the machine. And this isn't something that's going to wear off until they get hooked back up to the machine.
They got to go back to the machine, yes.
But they've all swapped bodies, and they're not telling who's who. And so then they, mingle and party and try to figure out who is who.
Sounds like fun.
And hilarity ensues, except
they're all having a good time until they stop having a good time.
there's drama, and
Yeah,
there's
is.
relationship issues that we didn't know about and that some people don't know about. And yeah, it gets real complicated. And then they switch back, and then they have a round two because, round one wasn't filed enough. Then things really start getting out of hand.
Yeah.
And then it's divided up into a coda as well
Uh-huh.
after round two.
Where they explain what we really saw.
Yeah.
Well, okay, the music in this one kind of stands out, I thought. The house is pretty interesting, too. Supposedly designed by a dead artist.
Yeah,
it's got weird art.
It's the groom's mother's house. She was
Yeah.
a professional artist. It's a mansion-sized place.
Weird art, a room full of mirrors.
Yeah, the rooms are incorporated with artworks.
And a big electric trauma sign out on the balcony. Very cool place.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin pointed out that Shelby was on some kind of drug for her mental issues early on. And later on, she trades bodies, obviously. if depending on what her problem is, if her brain goes in a different body that's unmedicated.
Well, her mind goes in the body, but her physical brain that has the physical
is in the
problem would be a problem for that new person. Plus the medication that she's on. Plus all these people are doing...
Depends if it's a problem with her brain or just a mental issue.
A physical problem. Plus all these people are doing drugs and drinking to varying degrees. Though that would have, that's a thing of the body. So the mind that goes into, a super stoned body is going to be affected too.
Yeah.
And that plays into this too.
Well, the characters and acting here are excellent. They'd have to be so you can tell who's who when they aren't them anymore. Take that sentence and parse it.
Yeah, it gets complicated.
Well, the writing on this is phenomenal since the plot gets so convoluted at the end. Just when you thought it was over, there's a whole extra layer of stuff going on. It's complicated. I almost felt like I needed to watch the last 10 minutes a second time. I mean, I did understand. It's not like Primer where nobody understands what the hell it's about. But
this one you understand.
You can understand it, but there's a lot of detail going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the ones that I'm going to be thinking about all week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the physically caused stuff. There's mental illness, hormones, medication, booze, drugs. All of that is in the mix too.
Yeah.
And, if you go into the opposite gender, you're not used to those hormones.
Which they didn't make a big deal out of in the first 2 rounds.
But
nobody swapped gender, which would have made it a lot harder to guess.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't do it that way.
Or did they?
Well, that's round 3 for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we talked about the movie Werewolves and how it was dumb fun. And hey, we're not done with werewolves yet.
Not yet.
Actually, there's no werewolves in this one exactly. It's a York wolf.
It's a
Yorkie.
Yorkie wolf.
Oh, I don't know. It's the Yorkie Werewolf from 2024. Written and directed by Michael DiBiasio Ornelas. Stars Isabella Jamie, Risa May, and Jacob Rainier. Hour and 15 minutes. That's a fairly short one.
Yeah, it is, but it felt like a lot happened.
Trailer in the show notes, as always. Spoiler free.
Well, the basic premise is that a young woman becomes a Yorkie rather than a werewolf, and she is both adorable and deadly. But there's more. There's witches and warlocks and mobsters and vampires.
Oh my.
And they're all interacting in what is a weirdly entertaining film. The effects get the job done. The script is out there. And, this was just seemed like the actors were just going with it and having a good time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a winner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lowish budget indie film, so don't expect a lot of fancy effects. But it's got some, and it's all well done.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets the job done.
2 men run through the snowy woods away from another man who has lost his foot, and another shoots himself in the head. And we see that a tiny werewolf kills them as credits roll.
Yeah, she's just adorable.
Think an Ewok with big teeth. Grandma sits up and prophesizes, "You will end the war at great cost. I have seen it." And then she farts before dying. Yep, it's that kind of movie.
Yep, and then she farts some more after dying. There's a lot of farts in this.
The family are all witches and have been for many generations. Jenny's mother, Sandra, says that Jenny has to come to the coven meeting tonight. For good measure, Grandma farts some more, an indication of how much power she had inside her.
All that power is coming out.
Well, I had some power this morning. Jenny's boyfriend, Dominic, wants to make out in the car, and she blasts him with magic. And he's obviously a gangster because he's wearing a tracksuit and gold chains and has a New Jersey accent. That's a requirement,
That's
right?
how you can tell. Yep. Uh-huh.
And once he's unconscious, he farts too. She then takes him to the coven as a sacrifice. Witches and mobsters can never mix. Sandra and her 2 witchy friends explain a ton of backstory about everything.
Yeah.
As she holds her little Yorkie dog, she cuts it and drips dog's blood into Don's mouth. Suddenly, the witches all die in a mobster attack. One of the witches turns out to be a double agent.
Oh, no.
After a quick fight, only Jenny is left alive. Her spell goes wrong, and Jenny turns into a werewolf. A special werewolf. A Yorkie werewolf.
Yeah, it was going to be that Don was going to be turning, except the mobster witch killed the other two witches, and she was there to save Don. And Jenny said, yeah, well, F you, and stabs Don to death. But she had already kissed Don, so it had passed on to her. So she got the curse. She ends up being the survivor. Yeah.
Well, Jenny gets blamed for stabbing everyone, and she goes to live with Chris and his foster family. Chris gives her licorice made from blood. Turns out he's a vampire. Well, that's some foster family.
Yeah, it is.
They go for a walk in the woods, and she turns as he watches. He sees the Ewok-sized werewolf and obviously thinks she's adorable. And he knows her whole history and about the war between the supernatural and the mafia. Chris also wants to kill Big Nick, the leader of the mob. When he talks about getting revenge, she agrees. Arf! All right, well, skipping down here to the commentary part. And like I said, she looks like a rabbit Ewok, which is just hilarious as she tears people apart. The acting here is weird and over the top, especially Jenny and Big Nick. The weird characters are far more interesting than it's a fairly generic plot, really. But it's all done as a comedy, so it's pretty decent. Mm-hmm. One thing I didn't like was Papa Nick's accent. Way too thick to get as many lines as he's got. He really could have used subtitles.
It took some getting used to understanding what he was saying, yeah.
I don't know if he was supposed to be like a Romanian gangster. He had the Transylvania accent on top of the New Jersey accent, and it just comes out as like, what? Yeah, but it's weird, quirky, and it's got some flaws. Still, if the concept appeals to you, it's fun.
I appreciated the amount of farting and fart jokes. That's an element that is so lacking in horror movies.
Oh, my.
But yeah, the strangeness and gore made a good mix.
All right, so we've had all these silly movies so far. Now it's time for a really serious one. 2024's Invisible Raptor.
Totally serious.
Directed by Mike Hermosa, written by Mike Capes and Johnny Wickham, stars Sean Astin, the big star of the movie.
The big star of the movie.
Yeah.
Top billing.
Mike Capes and Sandy Martin, hour and 55 minutes. My gosh, this is the longest movie this week.
And that was really my only complaint about it. It seemed a little bit on the long side sometimes.
It was.
But I was very entertained, though. I enjoyed it.
Spoiler free. It's a genius way to make special effects easier. Just make the monster invisible. Think how much cheaper it would have been to do Jurassic Park with invisible dinosaurs.
With invisible dinosaurs, yeah.
It still does actually have a lot of effects and plenty of gore. There's a lot of humor, referencing all the other dinosaur movies you've seen and other camouflage-type monsters. It's a little on the long side, but it moved decently through most of it and was overall entertaining. All right, well, give us a taste.
John Sykes and Willie Walsh work in their lab. They have some kind of monster in a cage. It's invisible. And they are trying to raise their invisible raptor to be really smart.
Why are they raising an invisible raptor?
Because it's supposed to be a military weapon. They're hoping to train it and then the military will be able to unleash it on the enemy. Well, they kind of get their wish. Yeah. Sykes has to leave to go get his kid a birthday gift. His birthday was 2 weeks ago.
He's a great dad.
Well, he's just so busy at the lab, Willie notices that the raptor has the keys to his cage, and he reaches inside to grab them.
And he's going to lose his arm.
And at that's Sean Astin.
Yeah.
And I was telling him,
Talk about
somebody that should know better. But, well, he does grab the keys successfully, but then stands too close to the bars.
Ouch.
Yeah, he buys it. Well, killing Willie, the raptor opens the lock and escapes. Turns out he is pretty smart. It uses Willie's eyeball to open the lock on the door.
That's really smart.
Biometric, yeah. Credits roll as it follows Sykes down the road.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And that was Sean Astin's leading role. He was in it for, 3 minutes?
Well, he's in it a little bit too later.
Very little bit.
He has a brief Weekend at Bernie's moment.
Well, he's dead at this point. He may return.
Yeah. Sykes goes to Dino World, an amusement park that's devoted to dinosaurs, to buy that birthday gift. And we cut to Dr. Grant Walker, who's a dinosaur specialist, and he's explaining about raptors and dinosaurs to a bunch of kids. and he's dressed like a stereotypical
Jurassic
character,
Park type.
yeah, from Jurassic Park, yeah. Well, meanwhile, Denny dresses in the restroom, putting on a dinosaur suit, and he's not really very proud of his job. And he's psyching himself up to go outside, and he does a dinosaur mating dance with the PhD dino expert.
Imagine the main guy from Jurassic Park dancing with Barney as
Yeah.
part of an act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole rap song even. It's just really cringy. And this guy, Grant Walker, he really is an expert on dinosaurs. I mean, he's a genius level, PhD, and this is what he's come to, rapping in front of kids. Well, Grant stops in the gift shop and runs into Amber, his ex, and her, possibly their daughter, Hannah. She's divorced now, and his career isn't going so well.
Obviously, he's a tour guide.
Yeah. Manager Todd comes over and makes a fool out of Grant.
He's like 18.
And Denny does the same. We get a dino point of view shot as the invisible raptor sneaks into the park and eats Denny's dog. It then hops into the back of little Elliot's car as the boy complains about his retainer. And Denny and Grant find a bloody footprint. Looks like a raptor footprint. How
We
could
could probably
that be?
stop there.
Yeah.
There's an invisible raptor, and mayhem is going to ensue.
Mayhem does gradually ensue, and Dr. Grant and Denny are trying to convince people that, it's a dinosaur and it's invisible, really. And the police are like, yeah, right.
What do you want to do if you want to make a dinosaur movie but have no budget for effects? Yeah, make the dinosaur invisible, of course. Never really explain why it's invisible, just that it is.
And, they actually asked one of the scientist guys, why? And he's like, well, why not? Because we could, basically.
Well, the top bill star, Sean Astin, dies in the first 5 minutes, even before the credits. There are uncountable references to Jurassic Park, Predator, and other kind of movies like that here.
Mm-hmm.
One joke after another, lots and lots of poop and butthole jokes.
Dinosaur buttholes.
Yes, and dinosaur poop.
Mm-hmm.
And one kid gets eaten up and becomes dinosaur poop.
They find the retainer.
Yeah, there's about 100 jokes about that.
Yeah.
Once you eventually accept the silly premise, it's not bad. It is, however, far longer than it needed to be at nearly 2 hours.
It was fun, though. I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my only complaint.
Not the best of the week, but it was
little too
certainly,
long.
it's not bad.
Yeah, I was entertained. Yeah.
So we've had 4 good movies so far, and we promised a mixed bag.
Well, I don't know about Werewolves being good.
I liked it. It was dumb, but it was good. I liked it.
Okay. It was, mixed feelings on that one.
All right. Well, how about one that we both agree on is not a winner?
Yeah, I would say Swap. I don't think it wasn't a winner in my book. Yeah.
2024 Swap.
Swamp.
Written and directed by Dallas King. Directed by Dallas King. Written by Dallas King. Stars Dallas King?
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's going to be one of those, isn't it? Also, it's got Jessica Lelia Green, James Eastwood, and Aaron Ann Gray. Hour and 26 minutes. At least it's shorter than the Raptor movie.
Spoiler free, I'm going to say this is a quartet of people looking good, doing lots of nudity and sex. And there's a vampire story underlying it. It does touch on morals, what's right versus what's wrong, who is a monster and does it matter. We thought the sex and the talk about sex was...
There's more talk about sex, and more talk about sex, and more talk about sex.
It was too heavy-handed, and the horror is downplayed too much. So it's decent for what it is, but we didn't love it.
All right, well, let me just skip to the ending here. There's like 2 scenes throughout the first hour and 10 minutes of the movie that give you a hint that one of the characters might be a vampire.
Uh-huh.
And then nothing happens and nothing happens and nothing. And in the last 10 minutes, the vampire stuff comes up.
Mm-hmm.
I strongly suspect this whole movie was the, what's his name?
Dallas King.
Dallas King's. He's wanting to push this idea of, what do you call that? Polyamory or group sex or whatever.
Yeah.
And one argument after another about it, how it's not bad, you got to be ready for it. He's a big fan of this apparently, and this is his treatise on sex.
His way to advocate it.
And just somebody's going to want to buy this movie. So I don't know, we'll throw some vampires in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And call it a horror movie.
The vampire thing was definitely an afterthought.
It seemed that way.
Well, okay, get on with it then. We watch a graphic sex scene as the credits roll. She tries to choke him, and he makes her stop. He's not into that. Kayla suggests to Rad that they bring in a third, but he says no, that's cheating. They clearly have issues. He goes to take a shower, and when he comes out, she's standing on her head doing yoga.
Okay.
Well, they go to the car and drive 4 hours to Glory's house. She's an old friend of Kayla's and has invited them over. And it gets dark along the way, which we thought might be important because of the vampire thing. It's not.
They can come out during the day.
Well, they let themselves in and hear Glory having sex with her guy in the bedroom. They walk in and watch for a bit, and it's quite a rough display. This all makes Rad just a little uptight, since he's clearly repressed.
More than the other three characters are, for sure.
And he's a cop, which we hear later, and he's very conservative, and all this sex stuff just gets to him.
It's too much for him, yeah.
Glory's boyfriend snorts coke in the kitchen, and Rad points out that he's a cop and uptight about the drug use as well. In the bathroom, Glory wants Kayla to share Rad with her, but Kayla doesn't think he'd be interested in that. Over dinner, the three talk about old times and how promiscuous they all were, except for Rad, who just listens in silent judgment. Glory's a lot to take in, and Angelo apologizes to Rad for her. Later, the two couples are making out in the jacuzzi, and Rad watches as the two girls go at it together. They have history. Then Angelo gets his turn, and Rad looks really uncomfortable and gets out to leave. We soon see that Rad is not aroused. Angelo follows Rad and tries to help him out, but Rad punches Angelo and demands that he and Kayla leave. All right, well, we're like 2 hours into the movie at this point, and there's no vampire-y stuff.
Okay, it wasn't 2 hours into it, but quite a ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, anyway, skipping to the commentary here. At about the 20-minute mark, Kevin pointed out, well, the whole thing felt like a big Instagram post. It all looked good, but no story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, two friends go to two other friends' houses, and they talk about sex a lot.
And have sex a lot.
Yeah, there is a lot there, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just talk, but it's mostly, most of the talk is about talking about sex. We get a glimpse of bat wings and Angelo's shadow early on, and then we see his glowing eyes. But really, there's nothing supernatural for a very, very long portion of the story. There's a lot of discussion and debate about the merits of multiple partner sex, and it feels like this was the main agenda of the writer here. It just goes on and on. He's got an axe to grind for sure, for more than 2/3 of the film. That, and there's some pseudo-porn scenes, but the film is half over before we get even a hint that this is more than a sex film. Actually, it's going to sound crazy, there's too much sex and not enough horror here.
To bill it as a horror movie, yeah.
It got old really fast with all that talk about sex. It's pretty bad.
For a horror movie.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a good sexy movie.
It's a okay porn movie, I guess.
Hard softcore. I don't know what you'd call it. It's more than softcore.
Four pretty people wearing very few clothes.
Having a lot of sex and talking about a lot of sex. But it was a lot of style and not enough substance. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did not like this one.
Mm-hmm. And the morality, Angelo is a ancient, and powerful vampire, and, his point is, screw the humans, anything goes. You want to relax and have a good time.
He makes a bigger deal out of being a hedonist than he does being a vampire. And you don't need to be a vampire for that.
And you don't, it's still about the polyamory.
Yeah. The last 10 minutes is about vampires. The rest of the movie is about polyamory. Yes.
And hedonism. Yeah.
And the vampire stuff has very little to do with it.
Yeah.
Well, on to our section here about short films. We're going to start out with Aliens. They Chose Here from 2024. Directed by Kyle Brewis and Josh Klassen. Written by those guys, along with Jess Morale and Nick Baxter. Stars Mike Belcher, John Belcher, Lily Zareff. I'm like, hey, are those guys brothers? I think they're twins, actually.
Yeah.
7.5 minutes, and this is on YouTube. Go watch it right now if you want. Two brothers drive their car to an isolated spot and watch for UFOs. One brother asks the other, why would UFOs choose to come here? Well, they do. When the bright lights appear in the sky, the brothers get what they came for. Sorta.
They get a close encounter of the fifth kind.
It's really well shot, especially since it all takes place in the dark. What's happening is very clear at all times, and it's nicely paced. So many shorts to sort of stretch it. We never really find out why what happens. We never find out why what happens the way it does, but who can really understand those pesky aliens?
Yeah, I wondered if they were, were the aliens doing this on purpose, or were they working out the bugs in their system?
It didn't go the way you'd normally expect, that's for sure.
Did they go, oh, damn, it happened again? You have to watch it to see what we're talking about.
Our next one up is 2024's Huntington Hills.
Huntington with two N's, not Huntington.
Is there a T in it?
No, there's not. No.
Yeah, the autocorrect has done some bad things here.
Yeah, don't let the autocorrect win. It's
Huntington Hills?
Hunningun?
I don't know.
Okay, you need to double check that.
Let's click this link here.
I thought it was Huntington. Well,
Huntington,
I will tell. A young man goes to what it looks like a B&B style place.
Yes.
And he's shocked to find that there's a butler there. He's not especially a friendly one either. The butler insists that he take his keys. It's the house policy. Gives him a room, and he heads up. Late that night, he looks outside and sees the butler burning something. There's a big bonfire out there. So what's going on here?
Didn't explain as much as I would have liked.
Yeah, I would have liked more explanation.
We see what happens, but not why.
It looks good, and they're good doing it.
Uh-huh.
Everything is, it's well shot, looks good. Yeah, but I think we needed to know more.
Yeah. Like who's in it? This was directed by Reed Stasiak. I kind of skipped this part. Written by George McKay and Reed Stasiak. Stars Thomas Bennett, Japheth Johnson, and Millie Lambie. A little under 8 minutes.
Sorry, I skipped that part.
Did we, though? Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah.
So distractible.
Yeah.
We were all distracted.
We were all aflutter about Huntington and how to spell it. Yeah.
And then I think my favorite short of the week.
Born Again.
No.
No?
Well, go ahead and let's do Born Again then. That's not my favorite.
No, I misspoke. I had the wrong one up.
Well, Born Again is directed by
that was good one too.
Jason Tostovan, written by Randall Greenland and Jason Tostovan, stars Ellie Church, Randall Greenland, Brian Spangler, and Tiffany Arnold. 6.5 minutes on YouTube. This is your favorite of the week.
No, I misspoke.
Okay.
This was not my favorite of the week. It was good, but not my favorite.
A group of cultists surround an obviously pregnant woman about to give birth. As they plan to summon the devil's rebirth, they all start chanting. One of the cultists arrives late. He's a little bit of an idiot, but he has brought the unholy book with him. What could go wrong?
They find out.
Yeah, I don't think the cultists were expecting that.
No, they certainly weren't. I wasn't expecting it. Yeah.
The masks, or at least most of the masks, the bozo's got a weird little, what is that, a panda?
Yeah,
Most of them are pretty cool, though. But these Satanists, however, are really bad at their job. Very cool movie.
Yeah, that was a nice one.
Yeah. All right, now back to the one I liked best was Meat Puppet.
Yes.
Written and directed by Eros V. Stars David Johnson, Mayred Tyers, and Greg Chillen. 12 minutes. What? David Johnson from Alien Romulus, yeah.
Well, a young man skips his own graduation to stay home and play with his action figures.
That's dedication.
His girlfriend calls to yell at him for being late, but before he can leave, he gets a package delivered.
You gotta look in the box first.
Is that his new Goku figurine? Well, he can't wait to open the box, but he's a little surprised when it's just a weird little hand puppet inside. Still, he can't resist putting it on and playing with it. Or is it playing with him now?
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Well, be sure to stick around through the credits, as there's more at the end that I missed on my first viewing.
Okay, you warned me about it, so I saw it. Yeah.
David Johnson recently starred in Alien Romulus, and he's excellent here as well. I don't think his character ever gets a name.
But, yeah, he's just good.
But we've seen similar puppet-centric plots before, but this one has a few unique twists to it that we enjoyed a lot. It's well-paced, well-shot, moves quickly, and is very funny.
It is. It was my favorite of the week, the shorts.
You stick your hand up the puppet's butt? Well...
There's a consequence for that.
Yeah, there is. All right, so that's the stuff for this week. I think both our favorites was It's What's Inside, and short film I know my favorite was the meat puppet.
Me too.
You're okay. Well, we're kind of unanimous this week.
We are unanimous.
We're also unanimous in our least favorite movie this week. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm sure we will have some differences next week. We may even get into a fight. Who knows?
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Stop in over at horrorweekly.com. Sign up for the free weekly email list that's got all the reviews in full. If you don't want to watch through that whole stinking swap movie, you can just read about it. Hey, I just saved you an hour and a half. horrorweekly.com. Read up on everything. If you're a daily kind of person, you want to read something every day, go over to horrorguys.com. And, of course, if you're a big fan of everything, you want to pick up the book at horrorweekly.com. Wow, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Until next week, I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And next week, we'll still be us.
Yay.
Yeah, unless we swap or get into that It's What's Inside machine.
Mm-hmm.
I could be Kevin.
Yeah, and I could be Brian.
Oh, my. Huh. All right, well, that's it for this week. See ya.
See ya.